This is Arkansas, and this is California. In California, there's a town called Los Angeles, and in Arkansas, there's a town called Conway. They are exactly 1,632 miles apart. Despite the difference in the film capital of the country and the quaint little town, they both went through something very similar in the year 2020.
For the coronavirus,
COVID-19.
United States is turning a corner in the battle against coronavirus.
Announcing a COVID-19 winter task force to fight the record number of cases and hospitalizations.
In all states, schools were shut down. People were confused and everything was scary. Although things did get better. Schools reopened and kids could return to their regularly scheduled education. But nothing was necessarily the same as it was a year before. For one, we had to come back wearing these things. And all after-school activities or events that had to do with school were either canceled or changed drastically. Talent shows, football games, all of it was canceled. Although there is one facet of high school that I really want to talk about today. The theater program.
My job for me, my job make no sound. Echo for me underground. Magic got me, really got me down. In Bed by City, it made my heart beat no sound, beat no sound, beat no sound, beat no sound, beat no sound. Tell myself down on. She told my dada. She told my
So this year was the year that we couldn't really do anything big like the high school production. Instead, we had to find something completely new for us theater kids to do. And that started off as the virtual talent show. But then it evolved into something much more personal for the theater program, creating a theater troupe. Now, this troupe was something of a first-time experience for all of us. As a sophomore, I quickly learned from my older peers that there had never been a theater troupe at the high school before, so this was kind of a new experience for all of us. What did joining a theater troupe exactly entail? Well, there was the Thespies, I know, rough name, but more on that later. And there were just seminars and workshops and an all-around feeling of stretching your theatrical muscles and going past what you already knew you could do as a thespian. We chose a facet of theatrics that we could present and present boldly, and we just did it. We practiced our performances for weeks and weeks, and eventually we sent them to a series of judges to have them be presented in the Thespies, a competition, but not really, against yourself and other people all at the same time. And it quickly became one of the most exhilarating things in my life. What were these judges going to say? How was this going to happen? This, that, and whatever, about this whole mysterious experience. And then the day of the Thespies came. We all got in the auditorium, we got a giant projector, and we saw this live stream with all these seminars together as a collective, as a group. We spent 2 days on it. It was awesome. We got these shirts. It was so fun. A couple of us were rewarded superior, which was like the highest regard you could get with the Thespies. And then it was over, which kind of broke me. I didn't know how to take that. I was confused, and I was kind of angry because we spent so long on it, forming these bonds and getting to know each other and taking all this time to do something we love, and then it was gone. And it felt weird. And I don't know if that's because the whole year has felt weird, or because nothing feels normal, or our whole concept of normal has changed forever, but I need to know, did it feel weird to anybody else, or am I just crazy? Is it supposed to feel weird? Is that the point? Is it not supposed to be something as it usually is? I mean, obviously it's not. They've never done it virtually before. But what does that mean for us? We've experienced it one way that's defying all odds, and it just felt kind of whatever in the end. What does that mean for our performances or for the live version of the Thespies? I had to find out, and I had to see what everybody else thought about this, and I had to figure out what happened with the Thespies. State, I guess, your name, what you did for Thespies, where you go to school, what grade you're in.
Okay.
All that normal stuff.
My name is Belle Overstreet.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. You know me.
Yeah.
I go to Conway High School. I'm a junior.
I'm Leah Fimple. I am a junior. I go to Conway High School.
My name is Kaylee Fortune. I go to Conway High School. I'm a senior, and I took part in the solo musical category of the Thespies.
I performed in a musical duo and a short film.
I did what do they call it? A
Monologue?
solo acting.
Okay,
I think is what
solo
they call it. So
acting,
it's
monologue.
do you want me to describe it for the people?
I mean, you can. You
Cool.
can.
I'm going to.
Okay.
I'm going to be complicated and give you more footage to edit.
Cool.
So
What I did for Thespians was I did two monologues, and yes.
It's interesting being a part of this, especially this year, right? Wouldn't you agree?
it's interesting joining this year.
Yeah. So I thought I would do this documentary thing and just, see how people feel and put it all together and maybe manipulate your words, maybe not. I don't know. Probably not, though.
Propaganda.
So we're going to start with our questions. The first question, it's kind of just a brain teaser type question. I don't know if you want to answer legitimately or not. I would prefer...
We'll find out what comes out of my mouth.
Yeah, I would prefer you answer legitimately, though. What does it mean to you to be inducted in the Arkansas Thespian Society? Like, is it incredibly important, or is it just kind of a side gig type situation?
I don't know that I would say it's incredibly important, but it's also not a side gig.
Right.
It's what I'm doing for school, and it's in place of the musical.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've wanted to do it for years, so I think that it's really cool.
Yeah.
To be able to do it. So my friends do it in other schools.
For me, I was really excited about it when Mr. S came up and approached me about it, because we did it at our old high school. Because I recently moved here for my senior year, and I was vice president for our thespian community, and so we had done things like that of nature, but we've never done the Thespian Awards, and so getting to do this for my senior year, especially during COVID when we couldn't do musical, was a really great opportunity, and I was very excited to be a part of it.
It's a great honor to be able to participate in something due to the whole pandemic, and we still get to have a chance to maybe do and try to do something close to theater related. And I was just very honored to have the opportunity to go and do a virtual one.
So I heard about it last year. We had like the state leaders, we had them come in and visit and be like, hey, you guys should make a thespian troupe, because we didn't have one last year, and I was like, this seems really cool, but we didn't have one, so obviously I couldn't just join it, and so it made me really happy to have this opportunity to be able to join it. And I mean, obviously this year it's a little weird and I'm not quite sure what could come out of this, but I'm hoping something really great does. So I'm excited, I'm happy to be involved.
So, when you were presenting, did it feel genuine, or was there a disconnect because you weren't performing for an actual person?
There might have been a little bit, but I was so focused on what I was doing and like how much work I'd put into it that it didn't really matter that I wasn't performing for everybody else, because somebody was going to see it regardless, and it paid off really, really well.
It's really difficult when you don't know who your audience is, and you can't perform to them. So it just made us perform for ourselves, which I think is something that's really important, is being able to perform for yourself and not for other people.
It's very scary with a camera, but I just ignored the camera and just stared into the lights. It probably wasn't very good since it probably hurt my eyes, but I just didn't look at the camera and I just looked at something else.
In your opinion, do you think it's easier to perform in front of the camera or in front of people?
I think it's easier to perform in front of people if the lights were off, because you don't see anybody and it's more comfortable. It just feels like you're there. I think it's more scary if it is a camera, because it's recording every move that you do and you can't stop the recording. You have to just keep going. And so yeah, I think it'd be more scary with a camera.
I find that I definitely do my best acting when there is feedback from a live audience, so like in the middle of a show or something. So it was definitely weird to have to sit there and be like, all right, just you know, wing it, just go right off the bat, do these 2 monologues and nail it. And I definitely think that I could have done better, and it felt a little weird, but like actually whenever we were actually filming it, it kind of clicked a little bit more into place. Like, yeah,
Okay.
I'm acting, I'm still doing this, I'm still having fun.
Cool.
The camera makes it seem a little bit more real.
Right. Do you feel proud of yourself for finding something and growing in your acting career during the crap storm that is this year?
Yes.
You know?
Yes, I have definitely. I just am glad that I get to come to school, even though I do have to wear a mask. I'm just glad I get to actually do something close again to a musical or acting or something. I'm glad I got to do something close to that.
Yes, honestly, yes. Just because I'm in a new city, I'm doing totally 2 different things that I'm used to doing, and now that I can say that I'm going to college in New York for musical theater is something to be so proud of, and I'm very happy with how everything turned out.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
One, I think that it was pretty impressive that we all did this, especially during COVID, through our masks, with all of these guidelines in place. I think that's crazy. Like, I'm super proud of myself and proud of all my classmates for doing that, and proud of people at other schools. It also is a little bit nerve-wracking because I'm not 100% sure how well I am perceived on camera. I don't know how well I played at cameras. So that was really interesting to see. And I'm glad that I now have that kind of in my repertoire of weapons.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So if this year was different, if we didn't have to wear masks and go to school 4 days a week, and, you know, we still got to even do the production, you know, on the stage, would you still have done all of this if the opportunity came?
Oh yeah, without a hesitation.
Without hesitation?
Without a doubt.
Yes, I would definitely do it, but it would be difficult to balance the musical if I even get it. But it'll be difficult to balance the musical with the thespian, whatever I'm gonna do. But I would definitely have done thespians this year if this wasn't happening.
Overall, I think it was a pretty solid process. It was a little weird, but with COVID and everything, it's a little weird regardless. So
True, 100%.
I think it was definitely something that it's worth doing, because you get feedback, people judge you, you get commented on it, and it's like, it's not something that's gonna break you down so much so you don't want to do it again. It's gonna break you down a little bit, but you'll work harder next year to get better.
So far, the reactions to the Thespies have been mostly positive. People have been telling stories of their positive experiences and reminiscing on the amazing, great parts of the whole program. I mean, Kaylee got into college because of the Thespies, and Belle opened up a whole new world that she had never imagined being a part of, as this was her first year doing theater. And Leah and Elizabeth got an amazing experience nonetheless, both being incredibly talented people. But still, something just feels strange. Something felt weird. It was like we entered a different dimension where we didn't do the Thespies after we did do the Thespies, and it was a whole thing for me. So I continued my interviews, and eventually I got to somebody who I knew would give a real, honest opinion.
So, my name is Zane Brewer. I'm a junior at the duet musical with Belle.
Here's the first question. What does it mean to you to be inducted into the Arkansas Thespian Society?
I think it's really neat because for me personally, I think growing up here and being a part of this community, there's not been that many resources. It's very limited. So like having this like industry and having like Arkansas Thespians in general is nice because it gives students, any kind of actor, not just kids, but adults too, because it does every age. So I think it's really important to have that there as a resource and kind of like a clutch. Like it's really nice to have it there, and it gives everybody the opportunity. It's not just like you have to be this way or this way. It's just an outlet.
So you wouldn't say it's like the peak of what you could do, but it's incredibly important still as a support.
I think
system.
Arkansas Thespians really helps you.
Yeah.
Like I think it kind of gives you more knowledge. I think you could still make it in the industry without Arkansas Thespians. Right. But why? I mean, why wouldn't you be a part of it in general? Because it's literally just resources coming in at you constantly.
Why wouldn't you take the opportunity?
Yeah, why wouldn't you take some of these fun things and play with them? So
okay, cool. That's that's an interesting answer. Elizabeth and Belle had answers similar to that. They were like, oh, it's not the biggest deal ever, but it helps,
I kind of felt that, but I think like doing my after research, like after it was all over and seeing how many people participated, it was really cool. Yeah. Because there were so many people, and even though there's not like a winner, you still, it's a competition, really. Yeah. It really is. And whoever made Superior, they must have really worked hard, but I think it's neat to see how many people are involved. At first I was like, well, maybe there's like, I was going against, 4 people, but there ended up being like 30 like groups. Yeah, there were. So it was really neat, Yeah.
When you were doing your performance, your duo, what is it? What's
duet.
The title? Your duet?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you were doing that, did it feel genuine, or was there kind of a disconnect because you weren't performing for an actual person outside of the camera people?
There was definitely a disconnect because I think the whole situation was interesting, like how we handled the whole thing in general. I'm surprised we made it through, to be honest, because of all the guidelines that most people didn't follow and because of all the real work that went into putting it all together. And of course, rehearsing it and just, remembering, oh, you can't be this close to this person. Oh, pull up your mask, that kind of stuff. It was really difficult. Yeah. And it did not feel at all like it usually does. But I think it also kind of helps me like education-wise because now I know. Yeah. I've seen, some bad scenarios and what you do through them. I'm very grateful for it though. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah. It was sort of a nightmare, putting together. But like, I'm happy with the result, genuinely. And it was a fun experience, but it was definitely different, I'd say. I mean, it's not like you're performing for like 100 people. You're performing for like 4. Yeah. So,
4 people.
It was just kind of like you were stepping on eggshells trying to get it perfect. So it was different. I think, yes, I do think having this, Thespians like helps me. And I think it's kind of like improvement through it. Some classes were, hit home to me more than others. Some I was like, but some I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So I feel proud when I like accomplish a project, when I get done with the script, I'm like, there you go. Yeah. But then you remember that you got to go back and strip it to pieces. You got to cut it. You got to fix your mistakes, and you got to pretty much write it again from scratch. Right, yeah. So it's difficult. So when I finish something, I'm really proud of it. And I think having Thespians was kind of that feeling. You went in there, and I didn't know what to expect. I'd never been there before to a festival, especially not online. I mean, I thought, oh, it's a Zoom, I'm going to fall asleep. But it was good. There were some classes I really liked, so I felt accomplished when I was finished with them.
So this is my favorite question.
Okay, let's
because it gets some awesome responses.
All right, let's hear it.
If this year was different, if we could still have done the production and go to school 5 days a week, no COVID, no masks, everything was normal, would you have still done the Thespies? Would you still have joined this troupe?
No. I hate to say that, but I really don't think so. And I think the reason is because we had nothing. So I was like, well, here's an opportunity. Why don't you do it, for fun? Yeah. But honestly, probably not. Like if we did The Little Mermaid like last spring and we had a play and a musical coming up this time, no. For one, I probably wouldn't have time to just sit down or go to Thespian Festival when all this stuff was going on in general. But two, because I never knew enough about it, I feel like. We had people come last year and I never really thought too much about it. I thought it was cool. It was a good idea, but I just didn't know like all it was. I thought for a second, I was like, well, maybe this is kind of like a low budget deal, like really small, but it ended up being like very professional. And I think the people that, give up their time to come speak to us is very cool. But honestly, probably not. And it's just because at that place, like in my life, I wouldn't have joined. But I think joining this year was fun because, good grief, we haven't done anything in forever. Like every theater is doing the right thing, wink, wink, and closing until it's the best time. Now they're starting to open back up again, which I think is fine. It's been a year. It's time to start doing something as long as you're, following precaution. But at that point, like when COVID started, it was a weird time. But I think now, I feel like I'm a better person that I did it. Like I feel like it changed me and like I wouldn't go back and even think about it like that. So I do think it's affected me. And I think that I've learned some cool stuff. And I'm glad that I got the opportunity to do that. So
cool. Okay, all right, I knew it. Zane's unfiltered and brutally honest opinion has brought me to a point where I realize I'm not crazy. There was a sense of weirdness. There was a sense of things being off. There was a sense of buildup that was being taken away. And I've been proven right. I've been proven right. And at this point, I felt like I didn't need to continue doing interviews. I could just move on with this. I could have those positive reactions. I could have that single negative reaction. I could just put it all together and show that, yeah, the Thespies were weird. They were super freaking weird. And they start off good and they tricked people into thinking that there was a fun, hopeful theater event. That's not how I felt. I just felt like this fun, hopeful theater event ended too quickly. I felt lost. I felt confused. I realized I didn't feel betrayed. More so, it was just me betraying the idea of what I thought the Thespies was going to be. And from there, I knew this black and white perspective can't be fully spread throughout the class. There aren't just going to be people who hated it, and there aren't just going to be people who loved it. And that wasn't even the case with people who did love it and the person who did hate it. They both liked and disliked different aspects of the entire program, so I thought I would gather the people who felt kind of in the middle about this whole thing, kind of like it was good, but it wasn't the greatest thing ever. But it was good for them. So, here they are. And state your name, what grade you're in, and what you did for the Thespies.
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm Faith Hamilton.
My name is Will Sellers.
My name is Rebecca Dillon. I go to high school at Conway. I'm in 12th grade, and for Thespians I did scenic design.
In the 11th grade, and I did a short film for the Thespian Festival.
What was the short film called?
Winter and Summer.
I go to Conway High School, and I was just invited to the festival.
First question. What does it mean to you to be inducted in the Arkansas Thespian Society?
What it means to me is that it was cool to just be thought of, even though I'm not necessarily in the class.
Okay.
But to just to think, hey, I know that kid likes theater, and I know that kid's been in plays and productions before, so maybe this is something he would enjoy. So it was cool to just be asked to be a part of it.
Well, we had mentioned it last year, and we just didn't do it. And so last year was like an interesting thing, and then so this year to do it, it was to actually be a part of it. It was a lot of fun. At the time, it was kind of like, I guess I'll do it, but at the same time, we had been thinking about it for a bit.
It means I get more opportunities to do more theatrical type stuff, more short film type stuff. And it means that I get to just exercise my abilities as not only an actor but a filmmaker.
Okay.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Cool. So there's no like greater thing to it. It's not a thing you've been pining for forever, but it's just a good opportunity.
I would say now that I know about it, I am more like you said, like pining for it a little bit more. I didn't know about Thespies until this year, so I wouldn't say I was like reaching to get in, but now that I am in, I'm glad that I'm in, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to be in, stuff like that, yeah.
Well, this question doesn't really apply to you because you made a short film, but when, you know, it's nice to see reactions to your short film, and I know you saw a lot of them through us, you know, the class, but how was it different not being able to see the judges' reactions as they happened?
Yes.
And like, would you say there was a disconnect, or there was, you know, it was fine for what's happening?
Obviously, due to the circumstances, I'm not complaining. I'm just glad I got to do anything in the first place. But I would say that there was definitely a disconnect in not being able to see the people that are giving me like points on it. Because like you can really tell a lot by like people's faces when they're watching, especially something like a short film. So yeah, I would definitely say it was weird, but I'm glad I got to get judged anyway.
It was a little disconnected because like talking to a camera is not a thing I do very often, and so it was kind of strange not to be talking to people and then awkward to have the conversation with someone who's not there.
So when you were seeing other people's, I guess, presentations or other people's performances, did it feel the same as a live performance would, or did it feel like kind of not as genuine or not as real as a live performance could be?
It felt like there was like this kind of underlying tension behind everything. Like in like a play, you have just nerves and you can feel just kind of the electricity in behind everyone's lines. Like, I hope I don't mess this up and I want to do as good as I can. But then it almost felt like in the festival itself, the things that we watched, that it was more like, this is kind of awkward, not as raw, I'd say.
Short films are a thing where when they're done, like when they're done and you make them, you always feel proud. But would you say that you felt even more proud, the same level of proud, or less proud with this performance and this whole short film experience, and finding some form of growth in your acting or your all-around career considering this year?
I would say I'm a little more proud of winter and summer.
Yeah, a little bit, because the fact I did something that I wouldn't normally do within a year, and then I think I did it decently, so I'm kind of like proud of myself for that.
Right, yeah,
doing
definitely.
something new.
Yeah, I think that any opportunity that you get, you have to make the best out of. You know, no matter if you get green lemons or you get brown lemons, you still have to make lemonade.
Right.
So, you know, in this case, especially, even though there's a roadblock, if you can't actually be in front of your audience, you can't actually meet and discuss lines and characters, you know, being able to grow through anything, especially this, which is such a team sport almost.
Yeah.
It was cool to be able to take things away from the Thespies and get to be a little bit better of a performer. But I wouldn't say it was like just something that revolutionized the way that I'm going to do theater. But it was cool, and I did enjoy it, and I think it did add a little bit.
My other short films were usually just me doing everything, but for this one I got to be collaborative, so it wasn't just me, and I got to hear that second opinion, and I got to have more people around me obviously following COVID guidelines and all that. So I would say I am more proud of winter and summer, and I also know a lot that I grew from it.
So if this year was normal, we had our yearly production, 5 days a week, masks, whatever, would you still have joined the Thespies, and would you have taken the much bigger production that it usually is alongside everything else, or do you think you would have been like tired out of your mind?
I would say yes. I enjoy these things like just art and culture and those things in the Thespies. I feel it's just a cool way to plug into that love for me. And so I would say I would still join it, because I still love theater without Corona. So, you know.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, with the like tech side of it, it's a lot to do. So if I would end up doing both just because I didn't know how much it would be, but I would definitely be exhausted afterwards.
Okay.
Because yeah,
All right.
it's a long process.
Yeah.
Yeah?
100%. Because having no musical, having no play, having everything be virtual, and also having thespians be virtual, and having to make a short film on top of that was also virtual, and not virtual, but like following those COVID guidelines and stuff like that, it taught me how to be more creative as a person. Because when you're given more barriers and more roadblocks, especially with something like film, which I'm sure you get, you have to work around them in a way that still makes sense. So being able to be a part of Thespians with all of this stuff going on, it showed me that I can work around those bad things that happen, and it made me grow more as not only a screenwriter, not only an actor, but just a person in general who wants to be a part of film. So yeah, I would still be a part of it, but I am really, really glad I even got the opportunity to do it in the first place. So
Right.
yeah.
So you're saying that because this year you did have to work around a bunch of stuff, if there was actual stuff, like stuff that would actually cause you to take up your time and not stuff that causes you to stay in your home, you would have loved the challenge to make a short film with all of these, restrictions of, rehearsal and this and that and homework, stuff like that.
I wouldn't say I love it. Nobody loves roadblocks.
That's true.
But I love the fact that it made me think about films in a different way, which is why even if Thespians was completely in person and we got to do everything normally and I got to make a short film normally with no restrictions, I still would have done it. But I'm kind of glad that, I'm not glad about the circumstances. I'm not saying I'm glad about COVID, but I'm glad that doing Thespians and making the short film during COVID taught me what it did. If that makes any sense.
that does make sense.
Yeah.
Film is a very provocative medium. It really makes you film. It really makes you film.
Yeah.
It really makes you want to film. It really makes you feel something.
Yeah.
And that opportunity to feel something and then show it to people just like you all across Arkansas, I think from a director and a writer's perspective, that would be hard not to just want to participate in. And with that, things kind of come to an end. This has been a crazy, out of order, insane experience that has been spanning a series of months and a series of opinions and talking to people who I've changed my opinions on and who they've changed their opinions on me for the better or for the worse. And personally, I think that's really what I wanted from the Thespies. I didn't want this big thing that could change my life in theater forever. Really, I just wanted people to see me. And it's kind of contrived and vain and this and that and whatever. But in the end, that's all what theater kids really want. They want to be seen. They want to break that outcast label that they have on themselves. And in a year where nobody's seen, the kids who aren't seen anyway don't even feel unseen anymore. They just feel left behind. It was a lot trying to put this together and figure it all out and whatever. And despite all that, I'm glad I did. Because I got to learn more about amazing people. I got to learn more about myself. Even though what I learned was kind of, sad, loud theater kids are sad and loud. It's important to remember that. Because in a time that's unprecedented or unpredictable or all these other unwords, it's easy to kind of lose yourself, as Eminem said. I don't have much to say now, outside of the fact that I realized something I already knew. I love theater not only for the craft, but for the people, man. And as much as I want to better that craft, as much as I want to better myself and my skills, I want to be better for the people around me, for the people who share my interests, for the people who will be there when I have nobody else and I'm on a stage alone where it feels like a million eyes are on me and I'm under the bright light that is God or whatever. You know, I just gotta remember there's always someone to my stage left and to my stage right, and they've been in that same exact situation too. Yeah. Yeah. This is cheesy as all hell. That's okay. I'm going on for way too long. I'll probably put like credits in front of my face while I'm saying this, or I won't, and I'll be sincere. Might just cut this out. I won't cut this out. Will I cut this out? Who knows? Keep watching. I don't know. To all my theater nerds who participate in this, thank you for letting me take your time and stuff. I'm always going to need you guys, and I hope you always need me, because theater isn't a place, it's a people. Cheesy. So cheesy. All right. I'm done. Bye.